Resident Evil 6 didn't turn out to be that good of a horror game after all, but this is how we can make it better. Let's run it back.
One, two, three, four. One, two, three, four. One, two, three, four. Turn the beat back.
Alright, starting off bluntly, way too many types of gameplay. You've got Leon, which is mostly old school Resident Evil type. You've got Chris, which is Gears Up, Chris! And then you've got Jake, which is like, oh my god, run away, this Nemesis wannabe is attacking us with QuickTime event and scary aspects. And then, just to add even further to these types of gameplay, you add segments that are only done either once or twice, where you construct an entirely new gameplay feature. Biggest example, Ada's chopper sequence. You only do it with Ada. That's about it. No one else gets a chopper sequence. So you've took your time to add a chopper sequence, fully integrate this with an actual life bar for this one character. Second example, motorcycle sequence. Oh, right, we can't integrate a life bar. So player gets hit, insta kill. Waste of fucking money. What else? Another driving sequence with Chris where he's in a Jeep and you only get to do this once, where there's driving and there's shooting for the other partner. What are we trying to be now? I remember a game that tried that before and fucking failed, and it was called Sonic 06, where they at least went up to 14 different gameplay methods that were only used at least once or twice and took a heckload of development time, which eventually caused a lot of bugs not to be fixed, and a game to turn out horrendous. So now I'm kind of wondering, Capcom, what are you doing? Why are you not keeping this to simply horror? It's not just a camera thing. It's not just an off-camera thing. You can find ways to bring in horrors. You don't need to have jump scares all the time to have horror. You don't need to try and cram in every different type of gameplays. You just have to remember what makes you scared, what can get people scared, what kind of elements could get people scared. And also, coming back to the whole plot thing, how broken up is this plot? Because frankly, you might have to do it 2, 3, or 4 times to fully understand what's happening from all angles, or you might just have to finish the game once with everyone and then look at the movie, that movie features, to see all the cutscenes in order to fully understand what is actually happening. But breaking a Resident Evil scenario apart that badly, that's kind of as bad as that the Wesker's file explaining everything that he did off camera in the other games, that thing that you find in Code Veronica. I gotta admit, well done for Wesker, because it tells you from his point of view everything that he's done. You do understand what's happening from his POV, even though you were never really wondering. You thought this guy was just dead. But here you have the story that's broken up apart between each and every scenarios, and you eventually have to piece it up by yourself or review the entire game as a movie, which is what it was trying to be. And again, getting to the scenarios thing, you guys had a good idea with the solo campaign of Ada, but now you add a co-op mechanic with the greatest Resident Evil character ever, called Unknown Soldier. Actually, it's not really called Unknown Soldier. We don't really see a name, and frankly, they could have just placed Hunk. Why not? Or they could have, even better yet, not making it a co-op experience and having it a mystery for whoever gets aided by that unknown player that controls Ada online. But, that's an idea down the drain. Too bad. A bit like their camera angle on that scenario, but you'll have to play to see what I'm talking about, right? And this brings me to another annoying piece of this game design, the QuickTime event. And especially when you have co-op QuickTime event, like the one I'm representing here, where the other partner AI or partner human can't do shit and just looks, well, I could have helped you, but apparently the QuickTime event is saying no. Poor design choice. Enough with the QuickTime event. If you don't know how to use it well or how to make it fun, then don't use it. Don't cram it in. You don't need to cram that system in. if it's not fun, if it hinder your gameplay or your pacing or actually your logic, then you do not need to use it. Why is everybody trying to be God of War or Dragon's Lair? It's not a fun system. It wasn't fun in Resident Evil 5, and it's still not as fun here. So enough, Capcom. Isn't that too simple? You want to add action sequence? You want to add tense moments? Okay, well, make sure the player is in a tense situation. Low ammo, enemies that you can't really defeat that easily, and make sure that the players cannot take on the enemies that easily, or make sure that they know that they can't take on those enemies. Not without a huge amount of effort and then pulling out a knife after all the ammo is gone. You know what I mean? But you do not need to spam QuickTime events all the time. I know you want to have this Michael Bay-esque type of episode, but it's not Resident Evil. If you want to be a third-person shooter, then be a third-person shooter. If you want to be a horror game, then you gotta set your grounds as a horror game. You know what I mean? But of course, you gotta remember to have a good bad guy. And not to be too offensive, but Simmons is not Wesker. He's not the tyrant. He's not Nemesis. He's just some guy in a business suit that apparently can transform into a giant jumping T-Rex. I think that's the only thing I will remember about this character. The only thing really memorable as a boss is the leaping T-Rex. But already I get no sense of real fear from that boss, aside from all those magical transformation. And do not forget, leaping T-Rex. I don't know what could have been done with this character to make it a bit more threatening. There's been so much build up with Wesker, and well, when it comes to Simmons, he's just some bureaucrat. Some bureaucrat. No, he hasn't transformed into a cat yet, but he's just some bureaucrat that you barely see on the field until a part of Leon's scenario. He's nothing. He doesn't have any build-up. He's just some guy in a suit. There's absolutely no character build-up. He's just evil. There's nothing. There's no surprise. There's no escalation between the betrayals or escalation between the hate. There's nothing. He is not a memorable character or final boss. The only thing that you'll remember him for is all the crazy fucked up transformation and again, leaping T-Rex. And this is possibly the broken scenario aspect, that multiple scenarios, he can't be part of all of them at the same time. Thus, they can't really build them up on all sides, except on, oddly enough, Leon's scenario, where he is the main antagonist on that one. But there's no real build up, and that's a thing that's been missing in this game when it comes to, let's say, bad guys or evil villain. There is no build up, there is no escalation. There is just, alright, evil transforms, destroyed. There's no build up. You don't get to know why you don't get to enjoy the hate for these characters. You just take them out. There's no connection. It's not like Joffrey from Game of Thrones, where they build him up as this bad guy and you hate him. You just hate him because of all he does. But, you know, Simmons, okay, so you killed this other girl's sister. You transformed her into this weird arachnid creature. Alright, so what? I got no connections to it. That's it. There was no build-up. I didn't even know her. Meh. And last but not least, the weapon upgrade system. Frankly, I kind of miss that. I miss that from Resident Evil 5 because you get this glee whenever you upgrade your pistol to another level and you get that new damage. This time around, it's using skill points to set up skills, and frankly, it doesn't have the same impact. There's no real feeling of accomplishments, or sometimes you don't really feel that the skill is taking an effect. Also, you're restricted to 3 skills, but you can add multiple slots, but it's not the thing. It's not the same thing as getting yourself a huge Desert Eagle fully upgraded or an upgraded shotgun. And as soon as you upgrade it, you're like, alright, let's bring on the next zombie. And BAM! see that power that your weapon holds up. And also, why did they remove the item exchange? There's been multiple sequences where my partner needed aid because, you know, didn't have any of those mementos. And I basically couldn't exchange any herbs to try to make combinations because, you know, no more weapon exchange, no more item exchange. So that was a great aspect in Resident Evil 5 that was taken out in Resident Evil 6 for this skill system and lack of weapon sharing or anything sharing. And it's too bad. It was a good feature that could have possibly aided this game. But then again, like we've mentioned, or like I've mentioned, there's multiple things that kind of made this game a tad bit of a disappointment. Overuse of QuickTime event, non-attachable characters, broken apart storyline, the camera angles just messing around, and it's a couple of things that they could try to work on. I have absolutely no clue if they're gonna go with Resident Evil 7 or make a reboot, but those are clear things to work on, and hopefully with this video and other reviews they will listen, they will analyze, and then they'll get back to the scratch board or to the storyboard. But hey, I'm about to sign out, just saying a couple of aspects that could be improved. If you guys have suggestions, type them in. The more feedback we give them, the better the next game could come, if they bother listening. But if they don't listen to their fan base, well, too bad. We'll make a better game. Yeah. But seriously, it's easy to whine, it's easy to bitch about things, but it's a bit more difficult to analyze and find ways to make it better. This is why we got our runbacks. Thank you, everyone. See you later. Leave some comments, subscribe, all the generic stuff, and I'll hit you back with another episode and another game. No idea what it is.